good, y'all? It's the one and only King Cal 516 live in the mix, and this is the Swiss Flames podcast. So Luke Walton is on the hot seat. I've seen an article today released by The Athletic, Sam Amick and Shams Charania, reporting that Luke Walton, the Kings coach, is on the hot seat. So I want to read a paragraph of this article, and we'll get down and dissect this. But before we do, please check out the website, www.swissflames.com. Hit us up on Twitter at SwissFlames. Check out the Facebook, YouTube page at Swiss Flames Podcast. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, please, for sure. And don't forget to comment. Let me know what you think about Luke Walton being on the hot seat. And with that said, let me read this paragraph. With the Kings 5-8 in the midst of a 4-game losing streak, head into a Monday night game at Detroit. Sources say the third-year coach job status will likely be peril soon if the current slide continues. The Kings, who started the season 5-4 before falling to Indiana, Phoenix, San Antonio, Oklahoma City, are determined to break their 15-year playoff drought, the NBA longest, and Walton won't be given the same leeway to turn things around as he was last season, especially when it comes to extending losing streaks. This is hardly the first time Walton's status has been uncertain. Okay, so the article continues. You can check out that full article on The Athletic. But they have a new general manager from last season, Monty McNair. So he came in, and a lot of times when you have a new GM come in and they inherit a coach, you know what I mean? Anybody who's a part of that organization, as far as any kind of management level, always, when a new general manager or a new team president comes in, you always got to be concerned about your job because you weren't picked by that guy. And so a lot of these guys want to come in and pick people that they approve of and that they feel comfortable with, right? But in the NBA circles and a lot of times professional team circles, a lot of times these guys may not come in and just be quickly get rid of the coach. Every situation is different. Sometimes these guys want to give a little leeway and just to see, give those coaches a little opportunity just to see if they mess with them, but a lot of times these guys want to get their own guy. So if they don't get rid of the coach right away and you haven't been a coach that has shown a lot of success, chances are you're going to be in the hot seat. So Luke Walton has not been successful of getting the Kings to the playoffs. Now the Kings have a dynamic mix of young players, up-and-coming young players. They got a nice core of Fox and now Halliburton, mixed in with some veteran players such as like Buddy Hield, you know what I mean? So they got this interesting dynamic, and they're in the Wild Wild West, and it's tough in the Western Conference. But there's a lot of teams. If you look at Phoenix Suns or another team, they got a great core of young players up and coming with some savvy veterans mixed in there. So the Phoenix Suns show that you can, if you get the right pieces, put them together, if you draft correctly, and you have the right coach. Monty Williams is doing a phenomenal job with the Suns, right? So I look at a team like that, and if you're a management, a general manager coming in for the Kings, and you feel like you have some good pieces, you want to start raising the bar, right? Because your whole goal there, when they bring you in, is to win, just like any other team wants to, right? And so you got to start looking at everything you got going on in the organization to what can you do to make it better. So part of it obviously is the personnel as far as players is concerned, but a lot of that also is management around those players, and that is the job of a general manager, you know what I'm saying, along with the team president, to make sure we can get these things going in the right direction. So a team like the Kings, who are in the West, where it's very, very competitive, if you don't feel like you have the right guy, especially at head coach, you're going to have to make a decision. Now, my opinion about Luke Walton over the course of the last few years has been, I don't think he should be a coach in the NBA right now. I think he was better suited, and I think he's a better suited guy to be an assistant coach. Now, I think he got lucky. You got to remember, Luke Walton is a part of basketball royalty with his dad, Bill Walton. Phenomenal player, Bill Walton. Luke Walton was able to, get into the NBA. He was a role player in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? He played for the Lakers. He played with Kobe. You know what I mean? So he had some great experience. He was loved by the Lakers family. He became the head coach of the Lakers when they were going through their rebuild, right? And so he had a bunch of young players. But I felt like Luke Walton didn't necessarily get the best out of those Lakers teams that he had. Because if you look at a lot of those players now, they have gone up to a lot of other teams and become really, really great players. And to me, that means that a lot of these players had that potential, but they weren't really fulfilling their full out potential. Now, you need to have time. So, in his argument, in his defense, I would say obviously some of these players didn't have a lot of time because once Magic Johnson especially came in, Magic was trying to clear up cap space. So he needed to get rid of D'Angelo Russell, who wasn't necessarily looked high upon in the locker room because of the things because of the drama he had with Swaggy P. But, he had to give an asset like that to go with Mozgov to get rid of that bad contract because they wanted to create salary cap space. But if you look at a lot of these guys that have gone on from the Lakers, a lot of them have gone on to, the Julius Randles of the world. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these guys have gone on to become really, really great players, which means that the Lakers, over the last 6 years, have drafted really good in the NBA draft. The Lakers really have drafted good because a lot of these guys they hit on them. It's just that their success has basically magnified as they have left the Los Angeles Lakers. Some of them were budding with the Lakers, like a Brandon Ingram. You could tell he had the potential, but that's part of the reason why he had to go and be a part of the AD deal. Brandon Ingram was the main piece of that AD deal. You know what I'm saying? People were, they should have got rid of Kuzma, said Brandon Ingram. New Orleans wanted Brandon Ingram. He was the top prospect that they wanted from the Lakers. So now Luke Walton is on the hot seat. So when I seen him with the Lakers, I felt like Luke Walton didn't really maximize himself for the Lakers. As soon as LeBron came, we know when LeBron James comes on a team, it expedites expectations. You have to go in immediate championship mode. And Luke Walton wasn't ready to be a championship coach with a team with that kind of pressure. I mean, not every coach is, right? He needs a little time. You know what I'm saying? He jumped ahead of the coin. Like I said, he's basketball royalty. So he got a great opportunity with the Golden State Warriors. And here's where I think a lot of people got misled of Luke Walton. That Golden State Warriors team, when they had Kevin Durant, when you had Steph Curry and all those guys, you know what I'm saying? That was a well-oiled machine. Meaning that once they got their system in place and got into their rhythm, the leadership they had on that team from the player standpoint on down was a well-oiled machine. So when Luke Walton got there, remember that year Steve Kerr was out for a while, Luke Walton took over. Luke Walton ended up, we know for a fact, coaching, and he had a very successful run while Steve Kerr was out. I think that really helped solidify him in order to be one of the favorites to get that Laker job. And I think that's what helped him, right? But I think that was very deceptive because I think that, like I said, that was a well-oiled machine there, and that wasn't necessarily a representation of how good of a coach Luke was. I think that was a great representation of how just dominant that team was. There's a big difference there. So then, Luke Walton gets fired from the Lakers, ends up getting the Kings job right away in that same offseason. And I was very, very surprised by this, that the Kings would jump on it. I thought it was a bad move by the Kings back then. And so I'm not surprised he's on the hot seat. Listen, I don't think the Kings are going to make the playoffs this season. The West is just too tough. And I just don't see them having enough as far as from a strategy standpoint. I actually think they have a decent team, right? But I don't see that these guys are being maximized to their full out potential. And once again, I just don't see Luke Walton being that guy. You know what I'm saying? I think it will be interesting to see, because he is on the staff, that you have a guy like a Doug Christie who played for the Kings. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they can give a guy like that a look. I wouldn't mind seeing the Kings go for like a former player. You know what I'm saying? Somebody with some kind of lore. You know what I'm saying? Doug Christie is one that comes to mind. Like I said, I know he's on the coaching staff. But right now, Luke Walton is still the head coach. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, these rumors are saying if it continues to go south, that you can see a change as early as this year. But I think if the Kings don't make the playoffs this year and Luke Walton remains the head coach going into the offseason, I think the Kings would definitely probably look to fire him then. With that said, let me know what you think with Luke Walton being on a hot seat. If it's my opinion, I think as soon as the Kings can find a leadway and a clear path of who can take over, I think the Kings can move off Luke Walton. And my first suggestion really, even though I said, they could possibly go for ex-player, because, I wouldn't be surprised if they lean towards that. I mentioned Doug Christie. But I also believe that a guy like Mark Jackson would be great for a team like this. A guy who's fundamentally sound, a guy that can really teach the game of basketball to these young cats on the highest level of how to win and how to be a professional. You know what I'm saying? I think having a guy like that with a team from this standpoint who has to depend heavily on the draft, say as part of their building process, I think Mark Jackson is another guy that I would just throw in there, hat in the ring. But let me know what you guys think. Hit me up in the comments. What do you think about Luke Walton being a hot seat? Let me know what you think. It's your boy King Kyle 516 signing off. This has been the Swiss Flame Podcast, y'all.